In 1971, amid the turbulence of civil rights struggles, Vietnam War protests, and debates over the welfare state, John Rawls published a theory of justice. At a time when faith in liberal democracy was being tested, Rawls sought to rescue its moral core. He didn't begin with utility, tradition, or raw power, but with a simple question: what would justice look like if we designed society from a position of fairness? Drawing on the legacy of Locke, Rousseau, and Kant, Rawls revived the idea of a social contract, but with a twist. He imagined not actual people bargaining in history, but hypothetical agents choosing principles of justice behind a veil of ignorance, stripped of knowledge about their own status or advantage. In doing so, Rawls built a theory that challenged both libertarian individualism and utilitarian sacrifice, offering a new vision of liberalism grounded in fairness, reciprocity, and moral equality. What makes a society just? For John Rawls, the answer lies in fairness, not just as a feeling, but as a rigorous standard for designing social institutions. His core idea is simple yet profound. Justice is the outcome of fair terms of cooperation among free and equal persons. In Rawls's view, society is a system of cooperation that lasts over time. People work together, share burdens, and enjoy benefits. But for this cooperation to be just, the rules must be ones that everyone could reasonably accept, not from a position of privilege or disadvantage, but from a standpoint of mutual respect and equality. This is where fairness comes in. Rawls introduces the concept of primary goods, things every rational person is presumed to want, no matter what their life goals are. These include basic rights and liberties, freedom of movement and occupation, income and wealth, and the social bases of self-respect. Justice, then, is about how these goods are distributed. But unlike utilitarians who aim to maximize overall happiness, even if some are left behind, Rawls insists that the distribution must be justified to every individual. A just society doesn't simply produce the most. It distributes goods according to principles that people would choose under fair conditions. And here's the key: fairness isn't a result, it's a starting point. It's about setting up the rules so that no one is advantaged or disadvantaged by arbitrary factors like birth, race, or class. Only then can we say the outcomes are truly just. Justice as fairness isn't a compromise between liberty and equality. It's a framework that redefines both. It respects individual freedom, but within a system that guarantees fairness in how social and economic opportunities are shared. How do we decide what's fair without letting self-interest skew our judgment? John Rawls offers a powerful thought experiment to answer that question: the original position behind a veil of ignorance. Imagine this. You're asked to help design the basic rules of society, its rights, institutions, and distribution of wealth. But before you do, you're placed behind a veil of ignorance. You have no idea who you'll be once the rules are in place. You don't know your race, gender, class, talents, religion, or even your personal values. You could be born rich or poor, healthy or sick, part of a majority or a marginalized group. From this position of radical uncertainty, Rawls argues, people would choose fair principles, rules that don't favor any particular position in society because they don't know where they'll end up. This is the genius of the veil of ignorance. It removes bias. It forces you to think like a moral architect, not a self-interested player. You'd want to protect basic liberties, ensure equal chances, and guard against outcomes that leave you, or anyone, destitute. Rawls calls this the original position because it mirrors the idea of a social contract, but with a twist. The contract is chosen under conditions of fairness, not power or coercion. It's not meant to be a literal event, but a device of moral reasoning, one that asks, what would rational people agree to if none of them could rig the game in their favor? What principles would rational people choose behind the veil of ignorance? John Rawls argues they would agree on two core principles, not because they favor anyone's interests, but because they would protect everyone, no matter their starting point in life. First, the principle of equal basic liberties. Each person is to have an equal right to a fully adequate scheme of basic liberties, compatible with the same scheme for all. This includes freedoms we often take for granted: freedom of speech, religion, conscience, personal property, and the right to participate in political life. These are non-negotiable. They're not to be sacrificed for social gains or economic efficiency. Everyone gets the same basic rights, full stop. Second, Rawls introduces a two-part condition for social and economic inequalities, what's known as the fair equality of opportunity and the difference principle. Let's break it down. Fair equality of opportunity means that positions of advantage, like top jobs, political offices, or educational opportunities, should be open to all, not just those born into privilege. It's not enough to remove legal barriers. Society must also work to ensure a level playing field. The difference principle goes further. It says inequalities are only just if they benefit the least advantaged members of society. In other words, higher incomes, prestige, or power are acceptable, but only if they improve the lives of those at the bottom. Think of a society where CEOs earn more than workers. That's fine under Rawls if their leadership raises wages, creates jobs, or funds public goods in a way that helps the least well off. If not, the inequality is unjust. Together, these two principles aim to reconcile freedom and fairness. They allow for ambition and incentive, but anchor them in moral limits. The idea isn't forced equality, but just inequality. Inequality that works for everyone, especially those with the fewest advantages. In Rawls's view, this is what justice requires in a pluralistic, democratic society. Not rigid uniformity, but a system where liberties are protected and opportunities are truly open, no matter who you are or where you start. How do we know Rawls's two principles of justice are the right ones? He doesn't claim they're self-evident or mathematically provable. Instead, he uses a method called reflective equilibrium, a back-and-forth process between our moral intuitions and philosophical principles. We begin with considered judgments, our instinctive sense that certain things are fair or unfair. Then, we test those judgments against broader principles. If there's a mismatch, we revise either the judgment or the principle until we find a balance, a stable point where our beliefs and theories align. That's reflective equilibrium. It's a modest, flexible approach, not about finding a perfect system, but building coherence in our moral thinking. But Rawls's theory hasn't gone unchallenged. Critics on the left argue that his framework still allows for too much inequality. Critics on the right claim it puts too much emphasis on redistribution and social engineering. Others question its cultural neutrality. Does the veil of ignorance really strip away all bias, or is it shaped by liberal Western assumptions about individualism and rationality? And what about global justice? Rawls's theory focuses on justice within a nation-state. But in an interconnected world, critics ask, shouldn't justice also apply across borders, especially when global inequalities are so stark? Still, Rawls's legacy endures. His work reshaped how we think about fairness, not as charity, but as a matter of institutional design. His influence can be seen in debates on taxation, healthcare, education, and social policy. Even international discussions on aid and development reflect his concern for the least advantaged. Ultimately, Rawls invites us to imagine what a truly fair society might look like, and challenges us to design rules that no one could reasonably reject. That's the enduring power of a theory of justice. Not a blueprint, but a call to reason more carefully and more fairly about how we live together.